of cybersecurity. I now get the pleasure of welcoming the opening day Security Day speaker, and that is Tanya Janca, also known as She Hacks Purple, the best-selling author of Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. Now, Tanya is the founder of We Hack Purple, which is an online learning academy, community and podcast that teaches people how to create security software. And Tanya has been working in IT for over 20 years. She's won countless awards and helped startups in the public service and tech giants like Microsoft, Adobe, and Nokia. And as many organizations are facing a severe shortage of people who are trained and experienced in system security, Tanya will get a chance to chat with us on how we do more with less. So in this session, I'm going to turn it over to Tanya to hear about her innovative solution to building security champions and how it can be used to attract, train, and build amusing as well, hopefully, security teams. Welcome, Tanya. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Tanya Janca, and it is an honor to be here as a resident of BC. When they asked me, I was absolutely so thrilled to have this opportunity. Hi, I want to talk to you today about building security champions. So security champions don't necessarily just exist everywhere in your organization. We want to build them from the ground up. And the reason we want to do this is to scale our security. So let me back up and tell you a bit more. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about how to scale your security team and scale your program, because there's never enough money for every single thing that we want to do. Like every security team everywhere is just stretched so thin. So I want to talk about how we can do more with less, or actually let's do more, but with the same amount. And so we're also going to talk about what the heck are security champions and how do we build up a regular employee into someone that champions the cause of cybersecurity. Throughout the presentation, we're going to follow this recipe. And basically, we're going to step back and forth as we go down through each step until we've filled every single thing and you know how to do all of them. And then, of course, there'll be a summary, and then there'll be a bunch of free resources for you. So the first thing we're going to do is recruit them, then engage them, teach them, then recognize and reward them. And we're going to make darn sure we do not stop. So thank you for the wonderful introduction. Every presentation I do has a slide that's about me. And so I am Tanya Janca, like you heard, and my company was actually acquired 2 weeks ago. So I'm now the Director of Developer Relations and Community at Bright, and I still run We Hack Purple, and I still wrote a book, and I've still worked in IT. Next month makes 25 years. So I've done a lot of stuff, and the point of this slide is to try to convince you that I am qualified to give this talk, and I hope you're like, yeah, she seems fine. I'm going to keep watching. So please come with me on this journey to learn about security champions. So the problem. So there are not enough application security professionals in this world. So there's just not enough cybersecurity professionals. But the little tiny niche that I do, I concentrate on making software more secure. And that field is called application security. And it is so hard to hire people in this field. And so what I started doing everywhere I worked doing this job is recruiting software developers, recruiting people from the QA team, recruiting people from anywhere I could in the organization, and getting them to kind of reinforce my message and help other people do their jobs more securely. And so we're going to talk about how to scale your team and your program, because there's not enough security professionals to go around. And it's not like we don't have millions and millions and millions of dollars to just throw at this problem. So we had to find a new way. I worked for the Canadian Public Service for 13.5 years. So if you work for the BC government, I know a very similar level of restrictions, especially with budget and how much you need to accomplish and how important your work is, versus like, you're like, I only have this to work with. So I got to figure out how to stretch this dollar as far as I can. So let's learn to scale. So what is a security champion? So this is the formal Gartner definition. So a security champion is a member of the team that takes on the responsibility of acting as the primary advocate for security within that team and acting as the first line of defense for security issues within that team. But that's not the way I would word it. The way I would say it is the person who is super excited about security. They read the book, they ask the question, they fix the bug, they show concern, they seem enthusiastic, interested. They read every email you send. This is the person who you want to have as your security champion. So what do they do? Like what am I talking about? This person is your communicator. So this person delivers security messages to each team, teaching and sharing and helping. They're also your point of contact, where they deliver messages to the security team and keep you up to date on what matters to your team. So basically, this is one of the most important things. So they perform security work for their team. So this, I say developer team here, but this could be for your marketing team. This could be for your team that does ATIP. It could be like any sort of type of team, because this person advocates for security. So if I, as the security person, go to someone's desk and I'm like, hey, I found a problem, can we talk about it? I am a stranger. And if they've had previously bad or intimidating experiences with other security team members, immediately this guard goes up around them where they're like, oh no, I'm in trouble. I should go on the defensive. But when someone on their team who sits next to them, who they've probably had lunch with 100 times, says, hey, I thought we were supposed to use multi-factor authentication now, dude. Why aren't you doing that yet? It's a completely different social situation. And when someone is your peer, a person you know and you respect, and they're asking you why you're not doing the security thing or why you've broken the security policy, it's completely different, and you're significantly more likely to actually listen and actually take their advice. And so not only is this person doing lots of work on our behalf, they have a special position that's completely different than ours, where all people on their team, you know, let's train security champions. And I'm like, we want to do more than train them. We want to build them up to become a champion. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to recruit people. So yeah, big muscle, recruit some champions. So the first rule in recruiting, and this is really important, is do not volunteer someone to be a security champion. Like, Brad was late to the meeting, haha, I guess you're the security champion now. Or like, Jennifer seems like, she would definitely want to do this. She likes doing all the work all the time. Let's give her even more work. I'm sure she'll like it. This is not the right way to find a good security champion. We want to attract the right people. So that's what this section is going to be about. It's about attracting the right people instead of demanding someone become something on top of their regular job. And the number two thing that is important is the managers need to be on board, because if not, they won't give them any time to do this important work. They won't listen to them, that's for sure. So if upper management is not supporting of your plan to make the Security Champions program, you end up fighting against their direct manager. And guess what their direct manager is in charge of? If they have a job or not, which for most people means if they could support their own livelihood. And so you don't want to have a conflict like that where you're saying, hey, can you come to this thing? And their boss is like, stop wasting time on that stupid security stuff. That is not a recipe for success. So we need to have support from upper management. Even if their manager is just neutral, that's okay. But if their manager is really upset and not impressed and does not want to lose an employee to this program, you're going to have some conflict. Okay, so when we're going to recruit, we want to ask for volunteers instead of appointing people without consent. So consent is very important, but even better if we can just make them really excited and interested. So we want to provide opportunities to reveal themselves. So this could be an event like this. So every person that shows up, you're going to have a list. And if some of those work in your office, maybe you could say, hey, I saw that you went to security day. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you know that we're looking for security champions? If you see someone, so a lot of big organizations, they have a list of all the different courses that people took. So if you could look up security courses, and anyone that's not on the security team who took a security or privacy course, this person, you probably want them. So let's say someone works on a marketing team, or let's say someone works in public relations or whatever. If they took anything to do with security, that person is interested and you want to talk to them. If someone always emails you, if someone shows up to every single lunch and learn, if someone's always asking questions, anyone like that, send them a literal invitation. Send them an email and say, listen, I'm forming a security champions team. And I think that you would be perfect for it. And here's the reasons why. Like, you showed up to 3 lunch and learns. You asked really awesome questions. To me, you seemed really curious and interested. And that, to me, describes the perfect security champion. Can we talk further? Like, can I take 30 minutes of your time and like tell you about what we're planning and see if you're interested? I had someone add to their email signature, I'm looking for security champions, is this you? And he had 4 people answer him, and 2 of them became champions. All he did was change his email signature. He said it took like less than a minute. So attracting volunteers, like anything that you can do to make them interested. And I have learned the hard way, it's important to have interesting titles for your presentations. If you have boring titles, less people will show up, even if the presentation is the same. So I try to have more exciting titles because my first set of titles used to be really, really boring. And lastly, for the security team, the whole security team, when I first started doing security, I worked on a lot of teams that said no all the time. And instead, we changed our rule to yes, but, or yes, and. So you can do that, but we need to do it in a safe way. So yes, we can accomplish this task together, but we need to obey our policies, or but we need to add another safeguard, or but this. So still helping them get their jobs done, not blocking, but maybe perhaps adding a safeguard. And so I changed my mantra from you have to jump through these 10 hoops or you're not going to production or you're not getting approval or whatever the thing was, to it's my job to help you do your job securely. And so I'm here to try to help you, for instance, build really safe software, or share social media that doesn't violate GDPR or any of Canada's privacy laws. Canada has impressive privacy laws. So if you change it to it's my job to help you do your job securely, if you live that mantra and your team really exudes it, the entire attitude of every person that engages with your team will change for the better. Okay, so up next, we want to engage our champions. So what do I mean by engage? So the word engage, a definition is to occupy, attract, or involve. So I want to engage them with security activities. I want to occupy, attract, and involve them. But it also goes the other way. I want to be engaged by them. So I want to participate and become involved with them and what matters to them. And so it's a trade, in my opinion, the way that we're going to do this, because I don't just ask for stuff from them, I give them stuff. So how do we engage someone? So the way that worked that made me like never want to stop doing security is someone brought me on a security incident. I just asked if I could sit in, and this was with the government department. But then we were looking at all of this junk on the screen, and I was like, oh, that's code. Oh, that's this type of attack. Oh my gosh, this is, and they're like, you can just read this? I'm like, yeah, I was a software developer for 17 years. Of course I can read a bunch of code. Right? And then all of a sudden I was on all sorts of security incidents, anything that had to do with software. They're like, well, Tanya can just read code. I'm like, it's not magic. All software developers can read code, right? But they seem to feel life's magical, which made me feel very good. But when you bring someone along on a security investigation, and I mean doing this safely, I mean explaining need to know, I mean giving them training that they need to have, etc., and clearance. But if you bring someone on a security incident, this person will finally understand the lives that us security folks live. Another thing that I've seen work really well is share appropriate secrets. So I've shared information of past security events after explaining what need to know is, explaining like, I'm only telling you this because of your security clearances, and explaining this conversation does not go outside this room. And then sharing some things that happened, sharing a security incident where some of their colleagues were harmed. And I don't mean physically harmed, but having enough of your identity stolen or shared and leaked online that someone could steal your identity. That's harm. And explaining all the things that could come of that, explaining how we had to inform families, etc. And so when you explain like the real consequences of our work and let them live through it, it is a very different level of involvement that that person will probably want to have from then on. I like to let my security champions see everything first. If I'm going to pick a new tool, I'm like, come help me pick it. If we're going to bring in a new policy, I'm like, please write it. Please tell me your thoughts, every thought, good or bad, because I want to make this policy something that actually works. I want to make sure you can still do your job, but we're doing it more safely. So help me adjust this so it makes sense, so it's perfect. I often create a little mailing list and I invite them to any events. I tell them about new things coming out. I ask their opinions. It doesn't need to be a long list. It could just be like 15 people if that's how many champions you have. But these people really matter to you. And so sending a mailing list, sending a little email out to them shows them what you're like, how important they are if you keep them up to date all the time. I like to meet with my champions once per month. So one-on-one, once per month, and have a list of questions. So this list of questions, I used to have all sorts of questions. And then my friend Ray, who writes his own blog, he ran a champions program for 5 years and it was so good. After 5 years, he quit and it just runs on its own without him now. And so his 3 questions, and now I ask these 3 questions are, what are you working on? What are you working on next? Do you need any help? And those 3 questions just start a whole conversation that then makes sure that you're aware of anything that is coming up or that's happening now that's security related. And if they need help, you can help them. And sometimes it just means introducing them to another dev team that used to do that thing already, or introducing them to someone from another department, or maybe like changing something, a setting in one of the security tools that you have because it's been breaking something for them and they can feel brave enough to tell you. You need to brace yourself for bad news, because once you have built trust with your security champions, they will start to tell you things. And some of the things that they tell you might scare the pants off you. I have definitely been in meetings where I'm like, no, I hold all my feelings on my face. Like I'm really bad at lying. And so I was like, so I had to learn to like play it cool. Whenever a security champion says something like, hey, I don't know if this is a thing or not, but you get ready. Play it cool. Team building events are really good. So if you can let the champions know each other, then they can sometimes answer questions for each other, and that's even better. Invite them to join security communities. So within British Columbia, we have many different security communities, most of them focused around Victoria and Vancouver. That said, there's still other online security communities all over the planet. When I worked in Ottawa, I would invite like fellow staff to come to the OWASP chapter with me and come see a talk about security of software because they were software developers. And some of them would come and they would become more and more and more interested in what we were doing. And so those security communities aren't just for security professionals, like a privacy community, et cetera. And there's so much amazing stuff in Vancouver. And I know for some of you, it's a long drive, but it is worth it to connect and have your security champions be very passionate and interested in what you are trying to get them to achieve. So we want to teach them. So what are we going to teach our champs? So there is one specific rule that I like to try to follow, and that is only teach them what they need to know, nothing more. So until 3 weeks ago, my main job was creating security training and delivering it. And now I work at a company and I'm doing all sorts of things, but I have seen so much crappy training in this world where it's 2 days long, but it only needs to be 1 day because they've added the full history of, security ciphers or like, just like all these things that don't apply to the people doing their job. Like, yeah, let's get them to hack all these apps and network things, even though this person's like a sysadmin. It's like, no, they don't need to know that. What you're doing is putting lots of extra stuff in their head. Their head's already full. It's hard to be a sysadmin. It's hard to be a software developer. It's hard to do ATIP, like all these different jobs that exist within the government. The person's got enough going on. Don't put extra stuff in there they don't need. Instead, teach them what you need, expect, and want from them as champions. So enable them to do the things that you specifically need them to do. And so one thing that I like to do with champions specifically is coaching. So at first it just looks like a sad kitty, but then you realize this kitty is a Jedi. And so coaching is a type of teaching. And the reason why I mention it is because I've had this go really well for me in my career. So I've been doing this a really long time. And I find that when I have a more junior employee or an employee that I want to kind of help turn into a security champion, that coaching works really well for me. And so coaching theoretically means getting individuals or teams to reach their full potential. So you facilitate, so you help them like figure out their needs, motivation, skills, etc. But you want to help them create real lasting change. So if this person's only interested in security for 1 month, that is not what you have achieved, right? We want them to be security conscious for the rest of their lives. And so if we want teams to start practicing a secure system development lifecycle, that's for software developers, we need to support them in getting there. If we want them to follow certain processes, we need to teach them and show them those processes and show them why those processes matter. If we want security champions to sing the praises of security and evangelize our message, we need to constantly be there to reinforce those values. So how do we do coaching? So here are some examples that I have seen, like that I've done a lot, especially when I worked in the government. So I set up office hours. So like every Thursday from 9 to 11, I have this friend named Vane, and she had office hours from 9 to 10, Monday through to Friday. Every single week from 9 to 10, anyone can drop by, ask anything they want. But if people drop by and other times she's like, dude, do you have a meeting? No. Well, I have 47 things I'm supposed to accomplish today. So can we set an appointment for tomorrow, or can I see you during my office hours, etc. So then basically she would arrive at work and there'd be all these people in her office saying like, it's almost 9. What's up? Is it my turn? And it worked really, really well. Setting up repeating meetings. So your security champions or whoever you're trying to coach, have a meeting with them every month for just half an hour. And it sounds weird, but having it on the calendar, especially with your set of questions you're going to ask, even if the person's like, oh, the day of, can we postpone this to tomorrow? Sure. The point is, I want to touch base with you and I need to know what's going on and if you need me. Help your people prioritize security activities. It's important. Whenever possible, be available. I know this is the hardest part of this entire list. Sorry, I'm just seeing all these messages from Teams that just popped up. There are people waiting in the lobby apparently, and Teams really wants me to know. But it is important to be available. This is the hardest thing on this list, and I realize that because all of us are busy. But when we make ourselves not available and someone has a security question, do you know what happens? They try to figure it out on their own. And some of them do a good job, and some of them do things like try to roll their own crypto, like write their own cryptography, which is really bad. You should not do that. And I have seen that in live real action in the past couple of years twice. And that's a really dangerous thing. And so when we don't support them and we're not there for them and we don't answer their questions, what happens is they go and figure out things on their own, for better or for worse. Ideally, we want to help them set goals and then help them achieve those goals, teach them specific tools or specific skills, especially anything they've asked you for. So ask them what they need, then try to provide it. And if they're like, I don't want to have to ask you questions anymore. I want to just know how to do blah from now on. If you're able to, send them on training. If you're able to, bring them to a community that does that, or a teacher or mentor, etc. Like, you don't have to teach them every single thing they learn to be a great coach. Sometimes the best thing is introducing them to another person who's curious about that thing and they can study together and be motivated. I have a special note on delegations. This is important. Some items should not be the responsibility of the security team, even if you know how to do it. So I'm going to talk specifically about application security because that's my specialty, but this is for every security team. So if you do security for XYZ, so for me, it's for software, you usually know how to build software. You know how to do that job. You're helping those people do that job more securely. Don't do their job. That's the main message of this slide. So for me, don't sit there and fix security bugs. I know you know how to do it, but there's 500 developers and one AppSec person. It is much better if you let them fix the security bugs so you can do the stuff that only you know how to do as the security person. So updating your framework, planning releases, assigning bugs, running, just all these things. The list is endless. Delegate appropriate tasks to your champions or to whoever manages that thing. If you keep getting your hands dirty all the time, you won't be able to be available for these people you are coaching. but there's some things that you should not delegate. So this is specifically a software thing. So static application security testing tools have a lot of false positives. Do not delegate this unless you've given them a ton of training on this. This is a specific one that lots of companies get mixed up with. Giving security approval. Only the security team can give security approval. I don't care how long this person has been a security champion. They are not allowed giving approval on behalf of your team. Using any sort of tool without training. Danger zone. Training other new champions. What we're looking for is partnership and assistance. We're not looking for a replacement. So be careful with the delegation train that you get on. Recognize. So it is important to recognize your champions. I am a person that is really big into recognition rather than rewards. So I remember when I worked in the government, I had won 6 awards in 1 year. And one of the time, they'd give me like $100 gift certificate. I'm like, ooh, that's nice. I make $100K a year, like $100 gift certificate isn't that special. But when they gave me a little award to go on my desk, I was like, ah, recognition in front of my peers means a lot to me. But for some people, a gift means more to them. And so I suggest you do both types of recognition, so recognition and rewarding for everyone, so that you try to hit as many people as possible in what matters to them, so they know that you're important to them. Because we want them to know they're doing a good job, and we want them to not feel like they're trying really hard to do 2 jobs, but they only get 1 paycheck. This is my imagination of how they feel if they're overstressed and feeling underappreciated. They're just like squished into this box like this kitty. So how do we recognize champions? So one of the easiest ways that might seem ridiculous, but I've done this before, and I've seen people with it on their wall create a certificate that goes on their wall that says they're a security champion. I have seen so many people with so many things on their walls. I am one of those people, trust me. Recognize them in front of their peers. So this could mean a special virtual background in Teams. It could mean having a star next to their name. Whatever it is, so that other people are like, what's that star next to your name? Oh, it means I'm a security champion. Yeah, that's right. I'm awesome. Make sure you put a note in their performance review. This is extremely important. You need to, what's the word? Legally, in writing, recognize their achievement. Every single year, every single performance review, there should be a note saying they went above and beyond, because that's what they're doing for you. They're doing a whole bunch of stuff they do not have to do for the security team for the same paycheck. Tell their boss every time they do something that makes a big difference, and tell them you told their boss. Send your security champion directly an email that says, hey, remember you said, oh, there's this team and I think they're doing this and I'm really worried. Well, I followed up and I ended up being able to solve a big problem for them, and I would never have known about it if it weren't for you. So I want to say thank you to you. Without you, this would not have gone nearly as well. And the last one is make their role on their team clear to their peers. So ideally, you want all the people on their team to know they're a security champion, so they know, hey, go ask Jennifer, because she's going to probably know the answer. And if she doesn't know it, she knows where to find the answer. So this way, their peers see, oh, they're a security champion. Aha, I'm having a problem with this. I'm going to go ask them. So we want to reward them as well. So I like the idea of reinforcing good behavior instead of punishing bad behavior. So not all of your champions are going to be created equal. Some of them will do the bare minimum, which is still more than if you didn't have a champion. But some of them will excel. Some of them will need tons of your time. Some of them will not need as much of your time. But no matter what, rewarding them is one of the ways that people feel like, oh, this is worth doing because they gave me this small gift, so I know they actually care about me and I know they actually value me. So anything that you reasonably can, you should reward them. So I like the idea of just, you are a champion this year, so you get a reward, but you also did this, this, and this, so you get an extra reward. So security related gifts. So this is win-win. So they get a gift and feel rewarded. You get them to learn more stuff. So buy them a book, give them access to security training videos, send them on security training, invite them to a capture the flag contest or some other security gamification training. Giving them your time and attention can be a reward. So when someone comes to your desk, I know we're just starting to go back to work, but turn your body towards them. Put your phone down. Make eye contact. When you do things like this, people know, oh, I matter to this person. If you're sitting there and you're like, what? That does not spell respect. Help them with more than just security. So my friend Ray, I know I talk about him a lot. he used to be a software architect before he was a security architect before he ended up being in charge of AppSec. And so he's like, oh, I could just, yeah, I see a flaw in your architecture, just do this or this, because he'd done it so long. And for him, it was easy. Let them see everything first. They get the sneak peek at everything because they are special. So you're making them feel special. So like, yeah, we're planning this new policy. I'd love to hold a consultation, get all of your opinions, and then listen to their opinion. So you're not just asking for it for no reason. You're not just asking for it so that they feel good. It's because they're really smart. People on the privacy team, people on the public relations team, people that do this or that, they have a different experience than you, and they're bringing different experiences to that evaluation. And you want to have as many different viewpoints as you can in security so you can do the best possible job. Let them help you make decisions and anything else that you can think of to make them feel rewarded. When I worked at Treasury Board, I ran this lunch and learn program for my devs for 3.5 years. And we ended up having many presentations. And upper management was so stoked. They're like, morale has gone straight up. Everyone's so happy. Like the devs are doing a better job. They're creating less bugs. Life is good. And they're like, how can we convince the few that aren't going to go? So they made it that if you attended 5 sessions once every quarter, you got to have a Friday afternoon off. And everyone had the same Friday afternoon off. So what would happen is every 3 months, that day would come. And you see people like at 1 p.m. packing up and getting ready to go. It's like, where are you going? Oh, I did my 5 sessions. I learned 5 new things. I get to have the afternoon off. And it was very public to see them all leaving together. And they'd often go and do something together, which was even better, right? And so it's like, oh, I better go to 5 of those so that next quarter I can go. And it became very motivating. So anything you can think of is awesome. There are more people in the waiting room, Teams is telling me. Okay, so the most important thing is that we don't want to stop. This is the problem I see the absolute most often. The security team gets so pumped up, they're so excited, they plan 3 months of super awesome things. They do like 2 lunch and learns, they do a training, they do this, they do that, and then they are exhausted at the end of 3 months. So pace yourselves. So when in doubt, over communicate. Let's say it's December. So we live in Canada, and Canada is a country of immigrants, which means we have the most diverse, as far as I am aware, the most diverse set of citizens ever. And so in December are so many different religious events, which is cool and awesome. But so I don't usually hold a security champions event that month because whether it be Ramadan or Hanukkah or Christmas, or there's just so many different things, I don't want people to feel like, well, I can't go, or I have to choose between my religion and a thing at work. And I know they're going to pick their religion, which is totally cool. So I don't want to put them in a position where they feel like they're missing out. So in December, usually I just send an email and telling them, so we're not having an event this month. I wish all of you wonderful holidays. And if you're celebrating a religious event, I hope it's amazing. And in January, we're planning this. And in February, we're planning that. So I hope you have great holidays, an awesome December, and we'll see you then. But we haven't forgotten about you, is what you're trying to tell them. If you do not communicate regularly, you just don't talk to them for 3 months or 6 months. And the longer you don't talk to them, the easier it is to feel like, oh, I don't even know what to say now. Now I just feel stupid writing them. Don't feel stupid, just do it. Your program will disappear quickly. So let's not let it slip. Consistency is key. Even if you just send an email once a month to tell them, you know, half the security team was off with COVID, so we've been really sick and we're sorry we haven't been able to plan events for you, but they're all coming back soon because we're getting better or whatever, and we are planning this next month. Even if you just send them a message that says very little, it is okay. Even if you just meet with them once in a month to have that check-in and you don't have any events, that's okay. Some champions need more time, some of them need less, some of them are superstars, and some of them are meh. If you have accidentally dropped your schedule, pick it back up as soon as you can. It doesn't need to be awkward. You are the one making it awkward. Just say, sorry, things got out of hand with, some project I was working on. I didn't forget you. I just didn't have time. But do you have time for me this week? No, how about next week? Culture is a practice. It must be repeated over and over again, just like yoga. You can't be in May and say, well, I did these stretches. I did this yoga class in January. I don't know why my muscles are so tight now in May. You would never think that, right? It's the same thing with security champions. We must practice over and over again if we want to continue to have that mindset. It will fall apart faster than you think. So try really hard to keep this in mind, as this is the #1 thing that ends Security Champions programs. And I see there's lots of questions in the chat, and I'm really excited to answer them. So what is the recipe we'll follow? We did it. So we're basically awesome. We get the classic high five. So in conclusion, because I want to summarize a few things before. So we learned how to attract the right people to your program. We learned types of things to teach them and how to reach them, how to engage them and turn them into our advocates. We talked about what to delegate, what not to delegate, how to motivate them, and basically how to build a really good Security Champions program. So this was our recipe: recruit, engage, teach, recognize, and reward are sort of together, if that makes sense, because you want to do both of them at the same time over and over, and do not stop. So I have a few resources for you, and then we're going to do questions. So I would like to invite everyone ever to join the We Hack Purple online community. We've just started having in-person events in different locations around the world. It's super exciting. And as part of the acquisition of We Hack Purple, all of the We Hack Purple full-length training courses are now available for free in the We Hack Purple community. So secure coding training, application security, Azure security. There's a whole bunch of free security training in there if you want to join. There's no upsell. It's just free. Awesome books. These books are not free. You have to pay for books, unfortunately. If you are interested specifically in DevOps or DevSecOps or application security, these are my favorite books. And yes, I wrote one of them. I have a podcast. It is called the We Hack Purple podcast, and we are giving little mini short security lessons this season. So basically, every couple of weeks, I have time to record it. It's just getting the video guy to do the edits for me. I have a new video guy, and I feel, anyway, we're so far behind, but we have a whole bunch of episodes in the hopper with tiny little security lessons. And resources me. So, oh, my link. I will add that later. Just a minute. Oh, so the security, so go to community.wehackpurple.com and it is free. Okay, so back to me. So I am a security resource. I have a YouTube channel. I have a blog. My company has a blog. There's a newsletter. Bright Security has a blog. There's tons and tons of awesome technical articles coming your way if you want to start following our activity. And with that, I would like to wish you the best wish that I can wish someone, which is that you spend your life doing strange things with weird people, because I really, truly think that's what makes life great. And I want to say thank you so very much to all of you for attending this, and thank you to BC Security Day for having me. It is an honor to serve my government. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Awesome.
Awesome. That was so, I was jazzed the whole time. I just want to call out a couple questions that are in the chat.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you want to pick one. I have one around how do you inspire security professionals to become champions? I guess that's that question.
Yes. So when I started, I had been a software developer and I had switched over to the security team, and I was just learning. And so every time I learned a new thing, I would create a little lunch and learn for them. So you just saw me present, but I have now been presenting many years. When I started, I was 2 thumbs down. I was like really nervous and scared. I spoke way too fast. I remember doing a presentation in French, and they're like, is she trying to speak as quickly as possible? I'm like, no, I'm double nervous because that's my second language. And I'm presenting in front of all of these smart people. It's very scary, but I got over it over time. And so basically, whenever I would find a thing that I found interesting or remarkable, so for instance, if I'm telling my other security team members, oh my gosh, I found this thing, blah, 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 let me tell you about it. To me, that means it's remarkable. So then I would try to create some sort of presentation around it to tell everyone. And so I remember my first presentation, I said, I'm going to break into a bank at lunch. Who wants to come? And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, I found this vulnerable application on the internet and it's a fake bank. And I'm going to break in. I just learned how to do this. Come watch me. And so I helped them like just one step at a time. I'm like, so I see this error. Like, how can I use this against this? And slowly I showed them how I broke in, and they're like, oh. And I'm like, could you imagine if this was our piece of software and this happened? And they're like, how can we stop this? I'm like, I'm glad you asked. And so showing them the thing I'm passionate and curious about, I find is the best way to make other people passionate and curious. And yeah.
And have a little fun.
Yes. I see another question. Are there any openings for people over 30 or 40? So I'm over 40, so I hope so. I hope that it's not age dependent, because sometimes someone who is about to retire has the absolute most corporate memory of anyone in the whole place. And that person is going to know the most things in history. So I hope it's not age specific. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions. Do you find it challenging finding champions because they are too busy with other work to give them time for coaching, etc.? Sometimes, yes. So usually what I do, if a champion says like, I'm interested, but my boss, I'll go talk to their boss and ask them if it's okay on their behalf. So first of all, I ask permission. So don't go talk to someone's boss as a surprise. No one likes surprises like that. And so usually I'll say, is it okay if I talk to your boss? And I'll say, like, I'm planning this whole thing and one of your employees is interested. And usually they'll say, well, I don't have time to loan them out. And I'll be like, I'm asking for 2 hours per month. So one-on-one with them, and then 1 hour of some sort of lunch and learn for them to learn. And that's it. And in exchange, I will. And then sometimes I try to exchange something with them. So it could be, I'll answer any questions you have, or I will put on the approved list websites that you want to see faster, or whatever thing is that I can trade with them without breaking a bunch of security policies. And so I also have just baked cookies for people and done other sorts of bribery, like I have pizza. And it sounds silly, but things like that really work. Yeah. Are there more questions that we should go through?
We might have time for one more question. There's one, I hope there's this is more of a statement. I hope there's a clear link between the security champion and the future of cybersecurity. I think the answer is probably yes, but I don't know if you want to embellish.
Absolutely. So basically every place that I've worked, doing security, very quickly, there'd be that person on each team that I talked to. Like last year I did a full-time stint at a company for 3 months. And very quickly I'm like, okay, Freddie, Suda, this person. And it's not like they were officially security champions, but whenever I would talk to that team, or I'd put something in their team's chat, I'd be like, hey, I'm looking for this. It'd always be that person that answers me. So very quickly, I'm like, hey, can I meet with you just once a month? And we can go over anything you're working on, and I'll see where I can help you. Or I'll see if you can help me. And it doesn't seem to matter. There always seems to be this one person that's interested. Occasionally there's a team where there's no one interested. And then usually I go ask the boss, hey, can I present to your team about blah? So I try to find something that I think they'll care about. And sometimes it is like, we had a security incident 6 months ago and all these things happened and it took us 3 months to clean it up and blah, blah. And that was with one of your applications, or that was as a result of one of your team members. Like I remember many, many years ago as a dev, bringing in a USB key to listen to music. And I have only Macintosh computers at home, and at work they had Windows. And I brought a virus in, and it was super embarrassing as the super senior dev. And so they had a meeting with our team, and they're like, listen, we're not going to let people bring in USB keys anymore because some of you have brought in malware. And I was like, oh no, everyone knows it's me. And they're like, over half of your team has done this. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so bad. And they're like, I know you like listening to music. That's not what we're trying to say, that you can't listen to music. What we're saying is sometimes there's malware in that stuff you're downloading. So, and they gave us a lesson about all the risks. And they're like, here's how we would prefer that you brought your music to work. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. So I really do think that it is something that is going to improve over time. And I really think that it's too difficult to try to achieve what we're trying to achieve without basically buy-in from all the different teams.
Well, thank you, Tanya. There are a couple of pieces that I took away from your session, and I think I was thinking about being a super connector and how your time and energy on your network is a way to be a magnet and really engage people, and how I can be a super connector and how other people can be a super connector. Because I think, whether we're working in person or virtual, it's those relationships and the trust that's really like foundational to creating champions, identifying champions, and having those kind of tricky conversations when things maybe don't go so well. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for popping in and sharing as we learn about culture and talent. And I think I think you'll probably be hearing from lots of people that are participating today, but I just want to thank you again and have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. So we're moving on to